Hi, I'm Sarah Chen, and this is the story of how my family learned that success doesn't always come with a diploma frame. For 10 years, I built a tech empire in silence while my family thought I was just playing with computers. But everything changed at my sister's engagement party, where their final insult led to an unexpected revelation that would shake our family's foundation forever. In the Chen family, education wasn't just important, it was everything. My sister Lisa was the golden child, armed with degrees from Stanford and Yale Law. I was different. Numbers and codes spoke to me in a way textbooks never did. While Lisa collected academic honors, I was teaching myself programming languages and building websites from our garage. Sarah, when will you get serious about your future? Mom would sigh during our weekly family dinners, watching Lisa showcase her latest law school achievements. Your sister is already set to make partner at 32, and you're still. What exactly are you doing with those computers? I learned to smile and stay quiet. They didn't need to know about the 3 tech startups I'd quietly acquired or the revolutionary security software my team was developing. In their eyes, I was just the family disappointment, the one who dropped out of college after 2 semesters to play with computers. The real story began 15 years ago. While Lisa was starting her first year at Stanford Law, I was dropping out of State University. The day I told my parents, "You'd think I committed treason." Dad, a respected professor at Berkeley, couldn't even look at me. Mom locked herself in her room for 3 days. Well, someone had to be the family failure. Lisa smirked, adjusting her Stanford sweatshirt. Don't worry, when I'm running a big law firm, I'll throw some basic legal work your way. Even file clerks need computer skills these days. That night, in my tiny rented apartment, surrounded by servers and half-finished code, I made a promise to myself. I would succeed not by following their path, but by creating my own. Little did they know, I'd already spotted a massive opportunity in the emerging blockchain security sector. The first 5 years were brutal. While Lisa posted photos from law school galas and judicial clerkships, I was living on ramen and energy drinks, pouring every penny into developing Quantex securities. We were building something revolutionary, a quantum-resistant blockchain security system that would protect against future cyber threats that didn't even exist yet. The breakthrough came in year 6. Our system caught the attention of major tech companies, and suddenly, Quantech wasn't just another startup. It was the future of digital security. We started acquiring smaller firms, expanding globally, but I kept my name out of the press. The company grew under various shell corporations and subsidiaries, with my identity carefully hidden behind layers of corporate structure. Did my family notice? Sure, but not in the way you'd expect. Still playing with your little computer business? Lisa would ask during holiday dinners. My firm just hired a fantastic IT guy. I could put in a word for you. Mom would eagerly chime in. It's not too late to finish your degree, honey. Lisa knows some excellent career counselors. I'd just smile and pass the potatoes. Let them do what they wanted. I was too busy building an empire to argue. Then came last month, Lisa's engagement party at the Ritz-Carlton. She was marrying James Wilson, the rising star CEO of Wilson Tech Solutions, one of Silicon Valley's most promising cybersecurity firms. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. The ballroom was packed with the elite of Silicon Valley, CEOs, venture capitalists, and tech innovators. Not that my family recognized most of them as my clients and partners. I arrived early, wearing a simple black dress that Mom immediately criticized. "Couldn't you have made more of an effort?" she whispered. "This is an important night for your sister. These are serious people." The evening proceeded as expected. A parade of speeches praising Lisa's accomplishments, her Harvard Law Review editorship, her youngest ever partner status at her firm. Then came the moment that would change everything. Lisa clinked her champagne glass, her diamond engagement ring catching the light. "Thank you all for coming tonight," she began, beaming. "James and I have exciting news beyond our engagement. Wilson Tech Solutions is expanding into quantum security technology, and we're acquiring several smaller firms to establish dominance in the sector." My heart stopped. I knew exactly which smaller firms they were targeting. My subsidiaries. In fact, Lisa continued, her eyes finding mine across the room. "Speaking of technology, I think it's time we address the elephant in the room." She gestured for me to stand. "My sister Sarah here. Well, she thinks she runs some kind of tech company." The room rippled with uncomfortable laughter. Sarah, honey, she said, her voice dripping with condescension. James and I have discussed it, and we think it's time you got serious. Whatever little program you're tinkering with, sell it to Wilson Tech. Let the professionals handle things before you embarrass yourself, and more importantly, embarrass us. I sat frozen as she continued. After all, in this industry, you need real credentials. A college dropout playing entrepreneur. She laughed and others nervously joined in. It's cute, but it's time to grow up. James has graciously offered you a position in Wilson Tech's IT department. With some training, you could become a real professional. Dad was nodding proudly at Lisa's business acumen. Mom was already telling her friends how wonderful it would be to see me finally finding direction. The room waited for my response. Lisa's smirk said she expected me to graciously accept, to finally admit she'd been right all along. Instead, I stood slowly, smoothed my inadequate dress, and walked to the microphone. "Thank you for the interesting offer," I said quietly. "I'll have my response ready first thing tomorrow morning." Then I walked out, leaving behind the whispers and stares. In my car, I pulled out my phone and began making calls. By morning, they'd learn exactly what a dropout could do. Little did they know, tomorrow would change everything. The next morning dawned bright over Silicon Valley. I arrived at Wilson Tech Solutions headquarters at 7 a.m., hours before their usual start time. The security guard recognized me, not as Sarah Chen the dropout, but as Ms. Chen, the majority shareholder of their parent company. At precisely 9 a.m., the elevator doors opened. James strode in, followed by Lisa and my parents. Lisa was already chattering about office decoration changes she planned to make. Behind them came 3 men in expensive suits, their corporate lawyers, I presumed. Their triumphant smiles faltered when they saw me sitting calmly in the CEO's chair. "Sarah?" James stammered. "How did you get in here?" "This is a private office." "My office, actually," I corrected softly. "Please sit down. We have quite a bit to discuss." Lisa laughed nervously. "Very funny, sis. Now get out of James's chair before you embarrass yourself." Again. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," I said, opening my laptop. "James, would you like to tell them, or should I?" James had gone pale, finally recognizing me not as his fiancé's dropout sister, but as the person he'd been desperately trying to meet with for months. "What's going on?" Lisa demanded, looking between us. I pulled up the first document on the conference room screen. "This is the ownership structure of Wilson Tech Solutions. Notice anything interesting?" Dad leaned forward, adjusting his glasses. His face paled as he read. "That's impossible," Lisa whispered. Quantech Securities, I continued, owns 68% of Wilson Tech's shares. We acquired them gradually over the past 3 years through various subsidiaries. And Quantech Securities. I clicked to the next slide. "That's my little program I've been tinkering with." The lawyers were frantically flipping through their papers, realizing they'd missed something massive. But that would mean," Mom stuttered, "that your dropout daughter is worth $4.2 billion? Yes. That Wilson Tech Solutions is actually a subsidiary of my company. Also yes, that James has been trying to get a meeting with Quantech's CEO. Me for months to prevent a hostile takeover. Absolutely." Lisa collapsed into a chair, her perfect composure cracking. "This is a joke. It has to be." "The joke," I said quietly, "was watching you all dismiss me for 15 years while I built an empire. The joke was sitting silently through every family dinner while you mocked my little computer business. The joke was watching my own sister try to humiliate me in front of the entire tech industry, most of whom are my clients, by the way." I stood up, walking around the desk. James knew parts of it. He's been tracking Quantech's acquisitions, watching us buy up his company piece by piece. He just never knew who was behind it. "Did you really think you could acquire my subsidiaries without my knowledge?" James looked like he might be sick. "Sarah, Save it," I cut him off. "You have 2 options. Option 1. You resign as CEO effective immediately. You'll receive a generous severance package and a non-disclosure agreement. Option 2. I release the records showing how Wilson Tech has been inflating its security capabilities to investors, claiming credit for Quantech's innovations." The room fell silent. Through the glass walls, employees were gathering, watching the scene unfold. "You wouldn't," Lisa whispered. "We're family." "Family?" I laughed softly. Last night you called me an embarrassment. A dropout playing entrepreneur. Well, this dropout just bought your fiancé's company before breakfast. Dad finally found his voice. Sarah, surely we can discuss this. Your sister's wedding is no longer my concern, I finished. The acquisition papers are legal and binding. The press release goes out in an hour. Your choice, James. Quiet retirement or public scandal. 20 minutes later, I watched from my new office as James and Lisa stormed out of the building, my parents hurrying after them. The lawyers stayed behind to work out the details of James's resignation. That evening, Mom called crying about how I'd ruined Lisa's life. I let it go to voicemail. Instead, I focused on the email I'd just received. Stanford Business School wanted me to give their commencement speech. The topic? Innovation beyond boundaries, success without permission. I accepted with a small smile, already planning what I'd say. After all, I had quite a story to tell. The next year brought changes none of them expected. Quantech went public, tripling in value. Lisa moved to New York, as far from Silicon Valley's whispers as possible. James found work at a small startup, far from the spotlight. My parents, well, they're still processing how wrong they were about their dropout daughter. We still see each other at holidays, maintaining a careful distance that masks wounds that may never fully heal. Sometimes late at night, I look at old family photos and feel a twinge of sadness for what we lost. But then I remember Lisa's smirk, Dad's dismissal, Mom's constant doubt, and I remember that respect isn't inherited. It's earned. These days, when I speak at tech conferences, I often hear whispers. That's Sarah Chin, the dropout billionaire. They never finish the sentence, but they don't have to. My success speaks for itself. Last week, I received an invitation to speak at Lisa's law firm's annual technology symposium. The topic? Recognizing innovation, looking beyond traditional metrics. I accepted with a smile, remembering the night they thought a dropout couldn't possibly build something worthwhile. As I write this from my office overlooking Silicon Valley, I'm reminded of something my first mentor told me. Success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. She was right, but sometimes, just sometimes, doing both feels pretty good. Quantech continues to grow, pushing boundaries and breaking new ground. More importantly, I found peace with my path. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying others. It's about soaring so high they can't help but see their own limitations. After all, not all dropouts are created equal, and not all success stories follow the expected path. Sometimes the biggest achievements come from those who dare to write their own rules. And as for Lisa's Harvard Law degree, it looks great on her wall, right next to the newspaper article announcing her dropout sister's company's historic IPO.